Of course, in order to understand the information about animals, you have to be open to the concept that they're not second citizen to us. They're not less than humans. Why? Because they have God within their body. There is no any different between a soul that resides within Miki, a human form, and a soul that resides of my tortoise bronzer. No different. The only difference between the two is that the human soul will express its godlike essence through a human form, and any animal will express itself through animal form. So that by itself, the essence of human beings are divine, and so are animals.
All right, guys, today we got another special guest with us. We've got Miki Jacobs from her self-titled YouTube channel. Now, she is a medium, animal, intuitive, author, and public speaker. She was involved with the Israeli army, I think, for like 5 years. She got out of that, started a career, but felt called to spirituality. Now I think she goes around speaking a message of hope and love and spiritual awakening with those who are willing to listen.
What's more interesting than that collection of traits? So let's get right into it.
All right, let's do it. Miki Jacobs, thank you so much for being on the show. You got quite the resume there. Medium, animal, intuitive, author, public speaker. It's so great to have you on the show. Maybe a great place to begin might be just to fill our audience in on some of the deeper details of some of the stuff I just mentioned. Let's get a little bit of your backstory and we'll let you start things off.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for inviting me on. I greatly appreciate it. So I was born and raised in Israel in somewhat a conservative Jewish home. I still have elderly parents in Israel, brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews. And I grew up as far from spirituality as one can imagine. Again, we were quite practicing all tradition belief in Judaism. All my life, I very much love animals to a point, to extreme where I would bring stray animals to the house. And so that's something that was with me from a very, very young age. Of course, in Israel, certainly back then, most of the resident are apartment buildings. So there's no kind of yards. So every time I would bring a dog, then my parents refused until I found a dog that they fell in love with. But that's in a way, how much I love animals. At the age of 19, I joined the Israeli army, as all of us do. This is not volunteer like it is in the US. Women usually serve 2 years. I serve 5 years. I became a shooting instructor and a sergeant. So that's something, quite something that does shape my life. At the end of the army, like again, most Israelis, we kind of travel around the world, which I did. I came to the US, travel around the US a little bit, and kind of landed in California, where I am now. And the state very much remind me of my native country of Israel. The weather is very similar. The style is kind of similar. So I fell in love with California. That was many, many years ago, some 30 years ago, a little less, and remain in California. Then I continue to practice the Judaism tradition, the Judaism beliefs. However, coming to a place like the United States, obviously I was exposed to other religion as opposed to Israel, that mostly, again, back then, mostly Jewish. So I kind of start looking at other religion, and I kind of really stumble into spirituality. Back then, I was a businesswoman. I own a glass company. Back then, with a partner, we did cars, and we got into house glasses and hotel glasses. So we had quite a large company. Again, as far from spirituality as one can be. But as I stumble into spirituality, guys, things start making sense to me a little bit more than religion. Besides spirituality or the concept of spirituality, for example, God is energy. I grew up in a household which is mostly, unfortunately, the belief of religion, I believe, where God is kind of like a male with a beard and a cane and will strike me dead if you know. You're terrified from that God. You know, it's just the way it is. So here I stumble into spirituality. Of course, God is energy. As I broaden my knowledge about spirituality, that there is a part of God within all of us, of course, the soul. So then I got more and more into spirituality while I was still kind of running my own business. I became a Reiki master back then, which is a Japanese technique of energy healing. I did energy healing to people, and then I went into doing energy healing to animals, which of course I love so much. So then I got into meditation and kind of slowly in my free time, evening, and of course weekend away from my personal business, I kind of look more and more into quiet the mind, realizing or learning that it is, of course, the biggest obstacle to communicate with spirit, to open to spirituality. So I just kind of improve my meditation more and more and more. In the meantime, interestingly enough, that the business, our business, as by then was over perhaps a decade, kind of start failing. We didn't get any contracts anymore to do any glass. Things start to fail right and left. Unfortunately, back then, a partner died at the age of 42. So I like to say my story to people because I believe that if I would have continued the business world, I would have never got into the spiritual path where I'm meant to come to be today. And I believe I often use the phrase that the universe kicked me out.
Yeah.
It kicked me out, meaning the business completely failed after decades, you know. And then I left with even more broken English than I have now. I mean, I didn't have any really profession or anything. So it forced me to even dig deeper into spirituality to a point where I awakened my ability to communicate with spirit. Again, it was due to hard work. It does take a hard work. It does take dedication, of course. It's require a somewhat of a spiritual lifestyle of mind, body, spirit. But I did. I tried to channel spirit. The first couple of years, I documented the channeling from spirit through automatic writing, which is an ancient, super effective technique, guys, that everyone can do that. So I started. Back then, I did not give reading. I did not work with people yet. But as my ability improved, naturally, again, the universe opened doors where I start to do readings to people. And then as the time go by, obviously, I start teaching. I gather a lot of very, very powerful, very important channeling or other messages from the spirit world about humanity, of course, animals, about what we're doing here in incarnation, and on I can go. I have over 200 messages I channel from spirit. Of course, as I start doing private readings or group readings or event, then they bring their own channeling as well. So I also like the main message that I like to bring with telling my story. If I did it at the age of 32, meaning teach myself how to communicate with spirit, everyone can do it. That's why I repeat the story that I did not come from a spiritual background. I came from religion, far 180. But it is. Everyone can do it. Again, it's require consistency. You cannot have drama and allow your ego to govern your mind and expect to heal spirit. Does that mean that Miki is perfect? By no means, but it's mean that it does require spiritual lifestyle somewhat, but everyone can do it. If people don't do it because it takes hard work, you need to remain aligned and meditate and quiet the mind. But so now, of course, I have a business for 18 years where I do reading, where I do group, where I do events, where I spread the message of the spirit world to people, certainly nowadays, where the collective of humanity is not good.
Wow. So much there. What did I want to start with? The catalyst driving you, taking you from a religious-minded person to a spiritual person, and it's interesting how that comes about, because that happens in people's lives where they start off religious and then they become spiritual, and you're like, what's the distinction there? Um, so I'm not even sure. I don't think in a nutshell I could explain what the distinction is there, but I'm thinking about how that comes about. And sometimes it is like, oh, like you said, like I was kicked out or pushed out. And sometimes I'll say on this channel, I'll be like, just start being real authentic and real transparent and real honest. And the worldly world will push you out like a splinter out of the skin, and you'll find yourself in something a little more real, and
Yes.
sometimes the catalyst is something like a hard failure or something, or some kind of like struggle. I don't know that it has to be that way. Maybe
Yes.
for some people, the catalyst can be success. They get some kind of success and they go, why is it empty? Why didn't I got what I was looking for? And then that leads them towards something deeper.
Wow.
But there's a distinction there between organized religion and spirituality. And I'm
Yes.
curious, because you came from Judaism, I think about like esoteric versions of Christianity, like
Right.
hidden spiritual versions of Christianity, or hidden spiritual versions of Islam. And then, of
Right.
course, the name that's coming to my mind is Kabbalah, or Cabal, with
Yes.
Judaism. Have you looked into any of that stuff, like the
Little
roots?
bit, a little bit. The main difference is that it is very obvious, even if you do not spiritual or don't believe, is that human being wrote a lot of the rules of religion. It's very obvious. It's very conditional, and every religion have their own rules. So okay, so where are you looking here? I mean, Judaism don't eat that, and Christian and everyone and Muslim have their own thing, Also, the reason I bring up the God I grew up with is because it is harsh. It's always conditional. If you don't follow this religion, okay, but what if I'm Christian? So the Judaism, Saturday, you don't do anything, but Christian is Sundays. It's just a mess. It just doesn't make sense. Also, the lovely, beautiful thing about spirituality, it's a great simplicity, guys. It's really lovely. There's still that one beautiful, delightful, beloved force that we call God or the Creator, that is all energy, that is all goodness, and it's all delightful, that cannot be what religion describes. Because I've been there where I was like, oh my God, that God I'm really afraid of. And now a God that is so soft, so loving. Yes, there is condition to be able to feel him. There is a condition in spirituality to be able to align to him, being a good, decent human being, being kind, being positive, share, obviously. Watch the ego. Ego is not a word. Ego is actually entity that reside within you, the being that is supposed to push us to change when we have enough. So spirituality is that there is more simplicity to it. There is more logic to it. Now, I don't believe in mocking religion. A lot of people need those rules. Sometimes religion to certain people, certainly client I came over the years, that was a jump start to that, meaning they started with religion. They're like, you know what? It just doesn't sit with me. Spirituality, whether it is a podcast like today, the knowledge or the information we share today should sit right with your viewer. It should sit with you, which is exactly what I say before I present an event. I tell the people, I don't tell you anything new today. I merely awaken your memory or remind you of a soul within the body, that this is just a school. Don't take planet Earth too serious. We come here, whatever years the soul meant to come, and then we go home to our heavenly spirit world. God is energy, of course, that you can actually come to a point where you feel his presence, where you feel him with you. So again, it's just common sense. And like I said in my introduction, spirituality made sense to me, which therefore religion didn't.
So, what was the catalyst when you saw however it came about that you were sort of introduced to spirituality, and then you started participating or practicing spirituality?
Yeah.
What was some of the what were some of the early signals or signs or recognition of that you'd found something true, and then how did that lead into the more unique stuff like being a medium or animal intuitive?
Yeah, it felt just in like judged in the religion, in Judaism, which I believe if I was Christian would feel the same way. It felt too harsh. It didn't make sense to me. Certainly, as I try to go more and more into spirituality, once the mind is quiet, once you align with your spirit guides and angel, once you align your intuition is not a word, it's a system, built-in system within the body in which they communicate with us. For example, when we come an idea out of nowhere, or when we meet someone and we said, nah, about this person. You see, that doesn't come from the mind. The mind is oblivious, you know. It's come from the soul within the body, which is again a fragment or a part of God. So it just makes sense, you know, it just religion. So I would say probably I felt judged. I felt that nothing can do is good enough. I felt afraid, actually fearful. If there was certain holidays back home when I was growing up that I wouldn't follow to the T, I would be afraid that he'll strike me dead or worse, my parents. That one.
Right.
So so it just I would say probably the harshness and judgmental, and again mostly it didn't sit with me. It just didn't. Now you need to expose yourself to spirituality to be able to compare. If there's no comparison, then you keep going. And I suspect is the reason why my soul moved to the US. Well, of course, I met Clayton here and all the animals came here, but everything is very much pre-designed and governed by the soul. It's within the blueprint, which is the detail of the incarnation. If I were to stay in Israel, guys, I wouldn't be a medium, which I suspect I'm meant to be. You know, I wouldn't. Why wouldn't I? There was no exposure to that. Now, nowadays, of course, is there no spiritual people in Israel? Of course, more nowadays. I'm talking now, obviously, 30 plus years. But everything is kind of fell beautifully. But again, some people need a religion. Some absolutely do. Some they feel closer to God. So we fear religion than atheists, I think.
We reacted to a video recently of a guy that was a army vet, and he was over fighting where was he fighting?
I think it was Iraq.
He was in Iraq or whatever, and he when he was overseas, the people that he was in combat with were I guess they could be described as like religious radicals or something like that, and it was a dangerous situation. And he came back home, and this whole video chronicles his what had happened to him. He came back home and he was real disillusioned. He was he'd done a long couple of terms or whatever it was as a soldier, and his opinion of Islamic people is that they were trying to kill him. And so he became radicalized as a soldier, and he had planned to actually bomb a mosque that was in his where he was living
Back in the States.
back home in the States. He was back home in the States, and he was gonna go through with it. And then his daughter came home one day saying she had a friend at school that was Islamic, and so he was like, he flipped out and he like combusted that his daughter was friends with one of these people. He was so certain that they were like enemies and out to kill him. So he went into a mosque to just get a little more information before he went and set off this explosion. He was set on doing it. He decided to go in, and he said the people there showed him love, so much like love and acceptance, that he ended up becoming a Muslim. And then he was like, in the interview, he's wearing whatever their attire is or whatever. But the thing that stood out to me was that the signal that that particular group of Muslims gave him, as distinct from whether you're a radical Christian, a radical Jew, a radical Islam, or whatever, and you're in some kind of violent sect, there's a distinction there between that and friendly humanitarian people that are embracing you and bringing you in.
Right.
And so in that sense, I completely understand where you're coming from, where you say back home I would have felt judged. There was judgment. I grew up in a Christian town, and it wasn't hardcore or anything, but there was an air of there's an air of definitely an era of rules, rules and methods and do's nots that are that can get pretty intense. And then of course in some parts of the world can become life or death. You know what I mean? And so I love that you were able to come to California, find good people that introduced you to some spirituality. Now you can, now your mind has got room to open up a little bit, and you can maybe even like, one thing I found is there were, even after I left behind my devout Christianity, I found things in Christianity that made more sense from a spiritual perspective. It actually made more sense. This is what Jesus was talking about. You know what I mean? So that aside,
Yeah.
I do want to get into the meat and potatoes of this, which is, it's interesting to me that you're a medium, that
Yeah.
through the everything that you'd gone through, you came to America, you had a business that was successful, it failed, and in the wake of that, you found spirituality and you're opening up, and then skip a few, we get to the point where you are a medium and an animal intuitive. Can we talk about that?
Well,
What does that mean?
of course. So, medium mean is doing the work all the time, consistent, keep doing the work to be able to open the channel to spirit, to be able to defeat the number one obstacle, which is the busy mind, which if we pay attention, it just doesn't stop thinking. Once the mind thinking, you cannot heal spirit. So I did it. Like I say, I taught myself how to quiet the mind and created the right lifestyle, which I know what it takes to heal. So essentially, medium is communicate with spirit. People ask me, common question is if is different channeling angel or spirit guides. Once you open the channel, you open the channel. Of course, again, because we open the channel, which kind of extend from the crown chakra kind of out into the spirit world, once you open, everyone can come in, light being only. That's why I tell people, because sometimes people, approach, did you make Satan? And I'm like, I don't talk about it. I don't go there, of course. Why? Because there's good and bad. Of course, there's negative entities out there. The good news that all that go by law of attraction. And if you don't feed the concept of negative entity, they don't come. They kind of get bored with us. So they go to other people. I like to bring that up because sometimes people are afraid. Are you not nervous that would come something else, not with the lifestyle?
They go, I don't know what's going wrong. I've been watching tons of horror movies, and I've got a stack of Ouija boards in my closet, and I listen to nothing but death metal. Why am I haunted?
It's also what funny, Justin. People ask if Ouija board is true 100%. Because negative or dense entities, they know about Ouija board now, so it's easy for them to get through the Ouija board. If we just talk about Ouija board, not the Ouija board, what do you do the Ouija board? We can just connect to those delightful, like...
Some people get bit. Some people mess around, like they'll have some kind of interest in the, like some kind of like dark occult or what, I don't know what you call it. I'm not familiar with it, but I've heard stories of people that claim that when they were a teenager, they ventured into some sort of like, negative occult stuff. And then they're like, I got some things entered my world that I didn't like. And then I had to get them out of there or get somebody to pray or whatever. But then again, I used to listen to a podcast of these guys that were into witchcraft, and they were like very casually talking about conjuring demons or something, like entities, and I was like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like,
Never understood.
you got to be careful when you're conjuring demons. I'm like, why would you do it? You know what I mean? But that's just, I'm ignorant to it. I don't know all the ins and outs of demonology.
It's very simple, Justin. It's just you don't go there. You are aware that they are there. From my experience, people can attract those dense or negative entities, such as drug addicts. Why? Because people that are addicted, unfortunately, lower the vibrational energy. Usually, most people are delightful human beings. Usually, all we need to do is stay uplifted, do things that speed up the frequency of our energy. Obviously, nature, meditation, just be kind human being. Music would lift it up. So there's many things that we can do to stay uplifted. And that will not project an energy that attract negative entities. But they are out there, which why I like to bring it in the interview.
Isn't like 90% of people these days, it's got to be like some ridiculous number, like
most people drug addicts? Like I'm a little bit of a drug addict. I drink coffee every day and eat sugar, and sugar's a drug in my opinion. And
Yeah.
like you know what I mean? I'm not outside the realm of addicted, but I'm saying like
I also use the phrase that to communicate with spirit or learn how to, you do need to create somewhat of a spiritual lifestyle. Because if I smoke weed, I can't hear spirit. I'm below awareness, which why I say certain activity like drinking, being just not a nice human being, projects energy that take you below awareness. Spirits are above. It's where they are when we meditate, when we feel connected. So yeah, it's all about the lifestyle.
so
Absolutely.
no substances at all. Then you can't have any.
No, no, you can't. No, honey, it's considered energetically heavy activity. If you want to have glass of wine, I suppose. No, we can't do that. It's only in order to remain kind of uplifted, energetically
I
speaking.
see what you're saying. Okay. Well, I'm curious about when you encounter other people. Do people carry like other spirits with them? And like when you meet people out in public and new people, do you sense what's behind them or what's with them? Do you do like free intuitive readings with people? Sometimes they're like, just so you know, this person's with you and they're trying to say this. Do you ever do anything like that?
So, of course, in readings, I do, James. Readings are fascinating. I mean, I do that now 18 years, thousands of people. Fascinating. It's such a delightful, loving, uplifting kind of a session. They know what to say, they know how to say it. Spirit guides, our angels are loving as can be. So I absolutely feel so blessed with the work I do. In regard of doing it in public, at the beginning, when my gift was kind of shaky a little bit, it wasn't as strong as now, because of course practice make better like anything else. I would get into restaurant and be kind of overwhelmed with spirit. At the beginning, I remember one time I was in a gym and a mom of one of the guys that were there, she came to me and she told me they cannot find my wheel and it fell, the estate, the wheel, and it fell in between the couches. So that was kind of at the beginning, which is some fun, but it's not really. I'm not designed to change to intermingle my work with my personal life, and they know that spirit out of respect. So I don't get it now for many years. I don't like to use my ability and tell a person I don't, not even friends. And luckily I have lovely friends that just they don't do that to me. It is meant to be for reading, it is meant to be contained. Also, the downside of being a medium, I cannot channel to anyone I know. I cannot channel to family. I certainly cannot channel to Clayton, my precious husband, cannot do that because there's emotions involved. So the more there is emotion, the more I'm like, okay, do I really want that? Or, so there is certain rules. But again, it is a job. It's a blessed job nonetheless. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Magical readings are really magical, but they are designed to be separate from my personal life.
It also makes me want to ask you about kind of the structure of things. If if you are speaking with people like beyond this realm, uh, from your perspective, how does this all work? Like how do you see it as like what happens to people when they die? What's going on beyond this physical reality that we're in? And like what's the system that like the mechanics of like how it's all works,
Yeah.
whether or not like I don't know if you believe in like a good realm and a bad realm or
Yeah.
like I don't know how do you see it?
Right. Fascinating, James. So that's a lot of information that because I'm fascinating with what I do in the spirit world that I gather over the years. Um, the spirit world is divided into levels where the dense levels is divided into levels, and the higher the level, the closer it is to the creator. Kind of look at it in that way. Of course, everyone can imagine it different. People ask me, is there hell? Sure. When we die, the soul, not Miki is dead, the soul exit the physical body and travel to the spirit world. Sometimes I channel departed loved one that indeed describe the tunnel the typical near-death experience. There is a tunnel. Some don't, some don't. But essentially, at the time of death, the soul does exit the physical body and travel into the spirit world. Depend what kind of an incarnation you had when you left the body. If you were a rotten human being, the soul will enter the spirit world in a lower dimension. The more decent human being, and most of us are decent human beings, certainly if you had the intention to grow spiritually, respectful to people, to animal, to the creator, contribute to humanity, not only about your life, desire, and money, So the more we good in each incarnation, the goal of the soul is to keep climbing up in levels, if you will. The whole goal of the soul is incarnated into planet Earth, incarnate into a form, is in order to express our God-like nature. Because we are part of God, the soul, animal souls as well, part, or I call it fragment of God, we kind of created in his image. I think it's in religion, isn't it, honey? I think there's even the Bible somewhere. I'm asking straight and put it. So the goal of the soul is to express our God-like essence through Miki or James or Justin through the form into this world. So souls enter planet Earth in order to continue to expand our spiritual evolution. We often incarnate into different life. A soul will choose one incarnation, incarnating into a male form, female form, homosexual form, heterosexual form, into a childhood that is very hard, one incarnation were very good. The soul choose the weaknesses, the strength of the physical body. Everything is designed by the soul. The soul entered the body and try to kind of use their personality, and at the time of death, we leave the body. The time of death of us human beings and animals is very much pre-designed by the soul. I remember that was a hard information for me to accept, because I would say something like, no, they die in a car accident. No, we don't. We exit planet Earth to the precise manner in the precise divine timing. Having said that, because planet Earth is a risky planet, it is a material planet, sometimes accidents do happen. If people drink and drive, they can exit planet Earth prior to the pre-designed time. But from my experience, again, doing it for so many years, the soul will exit planet Earth when it's time to exit, whether it's the age of 7 or whether it's the age of 70. It's designed by the soul. People ask me, why would my soul choose to exit at the age of 7? Many reasons. There is many reasons as to why soul one incarnation choose 90 years, 7 years. Why did we choose those family, not the people, the souls? Why? So that it's so beautifully organized. What we're doing here, what we meant to accomplish, everything has to do with the concept of the soul within the body, express its godlike nature, and trying to continue to kind of climb up. So in regard to the time of death, we die, leaving the soul, entering into the spirit world. For the most part, guys, it's a homecoming celebration. It's an actually very uplifting process, the death of the soul once we leave the body. It is a pleasant, obviously a channeling departed loved one. It's the light, meaning the presence of God is all there. As souls, we do not have ego anymore. We do not have mind anymore, so we feel everything. Again, depending as to the quality of the incarnation we just completed. The better, the more spiritual, which why I'm here to spread the spirituality, the more we enter into heavenly dimension. It kind of start to climb up. But that's basically, most souls have a desirable or a pleasant process, but there are exceptions to the rules. For example, suicide. Suicide is the personality, the form, Miki, James, Justin, that have the free will, decided to bail out of planet Earth. So the soul have no choice. The soul is within the body. The body died, the soul exit the body. So from my experience, departed loved one of suicide do not experience a pleasant transition because there is a contradiction, because the soul meant to continue life, yet the life cut short. When I talk about suicide, I always like to bring people that kill themselves, the soul get the most love, the most help, the most support. And the reason I like to say that, because Judaism believe that it is a sin. I'm not familiar if Christianity believe on that or not. Judaism, to a point where they bury the person outside the cemetery. So it's absurd, obviously. That is completely not true. It's not a sin. A person came to a point, guys, where they say, I can't leave it anymore. I can leave it. And I want to go. That's okay. It's still free will. Is it a shame? Of course, it's a shame, especially young people, obviously. But so those usually processes are uneasy. Obviously, if people kills people, murderer, suicide murder, if people drink and kill someone that didn't meant to continue life. So there's some exception to the rules that souls enter readings and they said that that was not pleasant. Not pleasant it doesn't mean paranormal for Hollywood. It's unpleasant. It doesn't have that light. It feel souls often describe it as a lonely despair, fear, because the soul again is wrapped up by negative experiences. But for the most part, souls actually welcome exit the body, certainly when there is suffering.
It's fascinating to me that sometimes there'll be somebody with what might be considered a superficial problem, but that problem takes root in their psyche, and it becomes an ego, and then it causes them to do something like destroy themselves. Like it's maybe not even at the point of being like a chronic pain or something like. And I'm not saying this cold-heartedly. I'm saying with understanding. I understand that life can seem so bad, and maybe your neurochemistry even starts to give you flat emotions or something like that. But it plays out like a story. Like there's a narrative that this is bad, and that the only way out is some kind of irreversible move.
Yeah.
And then there'll be somebody who's got seemingly like, okay, you want to trade places with them? They got no arms or legs. And then you'll see the no arm, no leg person who grew up in a box or something, but they're full of joy. And it's their great joy to take on the challenges life has given to them, and they learn how to roll up the stairs or whatever the heck that is.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be silly because I don't want to make light of anything. It's just sometimes that creeps up when I guess things are getting too serious. But the thing I'm saying is the stories that we tell and we become so certain about in this life, that seems to be like some what is that word, insidious thing within us, that where all these like rules and stipulations start to take form.
Right.
I'm just thinking about that because of what you were discussing about suicides, you know. So how do we, maybe we can talk about getting out of that, breaking free from the ego that you mentioned earlier, that can take root almost like some kind of possessing force or something like that.
Right.
How could somebody have that kind of positive outlook that causes somebody with arguably more limits,
Right.
which surpasses all their limits? They do more with their limits than some people do with the world being handed to them on a plate. What's going on there? What's the nature of this story we tell ourselves, these stories that we become so enthralled with and so personal, it becomes so personal and personalized, you know? Spirituality, by and large, seems to reflect a deep, like a moving away from that sort of self-absorbed, myopic,
Yeah.
me against the world attitude, you
Right.
know?
You know, that's why I mentioned numerous times how the main obstacle to spirituality is the mind. The human mind can be nasty. Obviously, we need the human mind. We have the mind. We need it's crucial to the human form, of course. But oh yeah, it's most time negative. It's destructive. Look at the collective of humanity. Look what's going on right now, because the collective ego lead the way as opposed to the collective soul. I mean, look where we are. Look at the shape of the world. So the mind taking over. What work with that is spirituality. Not because I'm here preaching spirituality because I'm a spiritual teacher, because it works. What else would work? Spirituality means understanding that the mind bombards us with thought, bombards us with a 99% negative. It is the biggest obstacle. You cannot possibly communicate with spirit. And I'm not even talking communicate with spirit. Do you think if your mind is busy all day, can you see any sign from your departed loved one? Do you know how many signs they send us every day? Once, but you can because you're busy. Look at us running all over the place and all busy all over the place. So, what work is being mindful on the obstacle, meaning the mind. If you don't think, if a viewer says, I think so, the mind, we need the mind. Sure, we need the mind, but it take over humanity and us individual. So again, spirituality, which is of course is a big umbrella name, is just mindfulness. I didn't invent mindfulness. It's a core spiritual concept. Mindfulness meaning that you kind of guys detach from the mind a little bit. It wasn't easy for me to accomplish the practice of mindfulness, but if you pay attention, you can be the soul looking at the mind or being mindful of the thought of the mind. You a person can come to a point where we can split each other, and it's not hard, it's easy. Everything need work. It's like trying to lose weight, and after 2 weeks, because pants don't fit anymore, you leave it alone. You can. You can. That's why I tell people it took me years to accomplish certain things. But spirituality is such a delightful benefit. If there was no benefits, no one's going to be spiritual. What for? It takes so much time of the day, beautiful. And then you start being softened up. Then you start, connecting or ideas coming. Or also the creator, guys. It's not again God, Christianity, Judaism. He's involved in our life. You know what? When religion said we are his children, of course we are his children. It's exactly the work. He is our father, meaning he is aware of that, aware of our life, but he need us to give something to budge a little bit. If we don't, he's there, but he's okay. What can it's your free will. Once you start reading spiritual knowledge is crucial for us, which why I mentioned before when I do events, I am trying to awaken your memory. What memory, Miki? Memory. Miki, it's just this life. Okay, I have my good things, my not good things. What matter? I have a soul in the body. And we have great, a powerful, that soul is part of God. Once we align ourselves with it, knowledge come, intuition come, information come. I mean, so knowledge is important. Now, unless and until you include spirituality within your daily routine, every week you're going to say, next Monday, Miki. Do you know any clients tell me that? Next Monday, I'm just going to start. You can't do that. You have to create your lifestyle. At 7, I meditate, then I do my things, and then I study an hour in the evening. I study an hour in the morning. I go out to meditate. Nothing come in front of it. Why? Because now I have the benefit, because I feel the soul, I feel uplifted, my soul is rise above any concern, and then my day starts. So obviously I have to keep practicing. Knowledge is crucial, including within your daily routine is crucial, kind of like exercise. If you don't say every day I'm going to go to the gym at 4, it's never going to happen. We're lazy species. We don't want to meditate. Sleep in.
You know what it makes me think of? You ever heard the term, and I think it's used for other things, but it's been used for the mind too. They'll say the mind is a excellent tool, but a terrible master, or it's a good servant, but a terrible master, or something like that.
Completely.
You know, and I think when people that are into spirituality or have experienced some entheogenic or theosis type experiences, they see the non-mind like aspect of it, the non-clamoring, overly rationalizing, overly side of it. They intuit the value of the energetic side of things. And
Yes.
it's interesting because it even kind of reflects people's models of like how the brain works with the hemispheres. Like there's the sort of analytical side of the mind, and then the more receptive side of the mind that is more in terms of more in line with noticing.
Right, right. We need to overwhelm our mind with spiritual knowledge until it take over. It will give the fight of its life, which why I say it took me years and years. We need to overwhelm it. That's why it's need to be a spiritual lifestyle, mind, body, spirit. That's not a cliche phrase. It's absolutely true. The mind have to be robust. Pardon me, but body have to be robust with the right food, like we covered. No energetically heavy activities such as drinking, such as smoking. Yeah, but weed make me relax. No, it's not. It take you below awareness. They can get to us if we high. Again, you think I can be buzzed or high and heal spirit? It doesn't work like that. So it's require a lot of work, which while the soul enter planet Earth, souls love planet Earth. We have plenty of other options we can go to.
You come across a lot of weed smokers in California.
I'm like, why are you coming to a reading all, high?
Yeah, that's interesting what we were saying about the mind and everything. And I'm wondering in your circles, or maybe just with the knowledge that you've insights that you've had, or maybe something that you've learned, how much fascination you have with um non-dual, like straight up non-duality, like enlightenment type stuff. Is that an avenue you ever go down?
Yeah, enlightenment is the goal, depending on the effort we put. Of course, enlightenment merely mean that all our vibrational frequency is higher. It doesn't mean walk around and Mickey don't experience life like anyone else. Of course it doesn't. Otherwise, if that would be the case, my soul will not stay here one more second and just go home to the spirit world, meaning I'm here to experience the harshness of life. But enlightenment is the goal. We cannot be 24/7 enlightened because we're not in an ashram. We live among human beings. We live in the world. So the material world is harsh and you have to, observe your desires. And it's really, I said that to my husband often, it's a hard work, Justin. I mean, it really, really is. And you have to keep it up because if you don't keep it up, it's kind of like going to the gym one time and expect muscles or be toned. That's not going to work. So it just requires, but the creator is wise, obviously, and the benefits are amazing. And you look at life different and you lighter. You like what used to be big deal. Maybe it's not as big deal. And the relationship is more thriving, whether personal relationship with the kids relationship, so
It's funny for some person that going to the gym once a week is like a huge accomplishment for them until they run into the guy that goes to the gym 3 times a week. And then that guy's and then that guy runs into Superman, some guy that's been going to the gym 8 days a week.
exactly. So everything gotta have balance.
Yeah, like I mean, I guess I'm just talking a little bit about the comparison game that
Yeah.
there's been good money in, like even a moment ago, like I could associate it to what you said too about like we can't stand enlightenment and we're in the world and so we have desires. And I think about the people that seem to be the internet's such a cool thing because it's bringing out these people that we're gaining a capacity to get closer and closer to the authentic, where the narrative isn't so controlled. If you look at who was supposed to be the enlightened person throughout time, they're definitely on a stage. And there's definitely lights, camera, action before they start speaking, and a team of people fanning them and making sure it doesn't feel perfect all the time. And now you're getting people that are
relative. They're sometimes they're working class people, and they're going, listen,
Yeah.
I'm experiencing something. I've had some shifts. Maybe I even, altered my consciousness to gain some of these insights, but there's a reality to this spirituality thing.
Yeah.
And that is
I'm
fascinating.
moving in the right direction. That's a very common question because we're doing not good now, but we have a lot of help. Obviously, the creator, there's a lot of light beings helping humanity right now. Aliens, don't chew me because I say meaning outwardly beings that helping us.
No, we want to know about that. That's exactly what we
Yeah, we're gonna be at the midnight talking with Miki about aliens. I just adore that subject. But the scale will be tipped, guys. We're not doing right now. Obviously, I believe the suffering will continue. Suffering meant to shake us up, whether it's collectively or individually. For example, people come to me to reading repeat client and they're healthy, everything's good, making money, and then they're sick and the whole person change. All of a sudden, the compassion, of course, because that shook them up. So that's where we are right now. But oh yeah, all of a sudden, like, who are you? Unbelievable. So, and of course, the soul will choose that within an incarnation. So we're not comfortable because life on planet Earth is not that, it's that. It says to
I say count it all joy. Like I say that carefully because I'm not trying to invite challenges into my life. But I honestly, it dawned on me one time that people use the word karma always so negatively, always so like retribution seekingly, like waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's like, what if we've gotten karma wrong? What if it's like a blessing that we don't understand, that all those thresholds where we thought we were floating a week ago. I was wearing white linen and I floated into the room and it's very easy for me to be nice. And then some horrible news happens. I get humiliated. A truck drives by and splashes my white linens. And now I'm irritated. Now I'm a goblin. Now I'm angry. And I'm taking everything, trying to scrounge for everything I can get. Rather than being some embarrassing failure, it's like, no, that's completely on purpose. That's like, you're still way too like selfishly identified. Let it all slough off, all that stuff. Because I think there's honestly beauty beyond all that, to the point where a very like deeply enlightened master might be able to reflect somebody that's like, this also, this too, even my weird growth I've got, even that too, it's okay. You know what I mean?
Now, Miki, one of the things that kind of like is unique about you is that like a lot of spiritual teachers, they focus on kind of like the human experience, but you have a deep passion for animals. And you've also written a book called The Sacred Wild. Maybe we can talk a little bit about your connection with spirituality and animals and your book.
Thank you so much. Yeah, as I mentioned in my introduction, how much I love animals, and I'm not talking just our pets, of course. I'm talking of one of those people where I'm gonna fight for 10 minutes to save a spider from the shower. I am absolutely unable to kill anything, and it seems, guys, that the older I get, the more sensitive I get with animals. I cannot watch anything on TV that has remotely any cruelty for animals, to a point where sometimes Clayton tell me, those CGI animals. I said, I don't care. So my sensitivity to all animals is that, and I was sitting on that book for quite some time. I had previous book before until that came to light. And really the point of that, I will focus more on pets, although the book had wild animals, but more pets. How much divine beings they are. Of course, in order to understand the information about animals, you have to be open to the concept that they're not second citizen to us. They're not less than humans. Why? Because they have God within their body. There is no any difference between a soul that reside within Miki, a human form, and a soul that reside of my tortoise Bronson. No different. The only difference between the two is that a human soul will express its godlike essence through a human form, and any animal will express itself through an animal. for, you know. So that by itself, the essence of human beings are divine and so are animals. So once you start realize or believe or adapt the concept that the pets that we have soul within the soul within the body, like our soul, enable them unbelievable spiritual powers, way more than we do. For example, yes, we can teach ourselves how to communicate with spirit. I did. And I also say what a hard work, consistent work it takes. Animals naturally can see spirit. They can see departed pets. They can see departed loved one, angels, spirit guides. They can sense negative entities. They can sense pocket of negative energy within our home. Now, why is that? Because not like human being, animals do not have ego. The energy of an ego that resides within human being has to do with negative intention. The more a human being have negative intention, the more the ego grow in power, which is where the world now, humanity. Animals do not have ego. Why? Because animals, all animals, will never intentionally harm.
I don't know. I think my cats have egos.
I would
My,
swear
my
I can tell you that.
and you know how I punish them? They think they're such big shots, and sometimes I'll just pick them up and snuggle them like they're so cute
We just eat them alive.
because they're so darn cute. But they are little shits sometimes, and they
It's the personality
mess with me.
of the breed. It's the personality of the person. Sometimes they do things that appear ego because of the atmosphere of the house. Maybe Clayton and Mickey's house different than Justice and James' houses, you know, so they sponge different things. But ego, the word ego, that entity, it is an entity that resides within human being, grow in power when we harm other intentionally. Animals don't do that. Even if you look numb and my dog beats someone, well, it can be out of fear. It can be out of training. If a person teach their German Shepherd to attack, of course they will. Even in the wild, when they attack other, maybe their offspring are in danger. So yes, of course they do what we can refer to as negative. It's never intentional. Because animals don't do anything intentional the way we do, there is no energy of the ego in their body the way we do. Lack of ego in animal allow their beautiful soul to shine through them.
In all seriousness, I think it's very compassionate, your outlook on animals, and I think it's rare and really good. You know, I think about when I was a teenager and I was out partying with my buddy one night, and we were got into an argument about whether or not animals had souls. We like went to our other friend. She was working at a factory of the night shift, and we like showed up and we were like, "You need to solve this. Do animals have souls?" It was so stupid. But honestly, when you said we treat animals like second class citizens, I think we're so used to that. Like I honestly even think that there's totally spiritual people that are not vegan and they eat
No,
meat.
no.
It's
Yeah.
such a part of our culture. And I don't know what to do about that. I tried being a vegan for a while there. And then I fell victim to just like only eating the most carbohydrate stuff because it does
Yeah.
take a bit of work. And the only reason I think it takes work is because of the karmic load we're dragging with us through history. We're so used to doing it this way. We're so used to eating animals. And that's not me
Yeah.
inviting someone to guilt trip themselves. It's just a
Yeah.
fascinating thing, food for
Right.
well, pardon the pun, food for thought. To think of,
Right.
consider it for a moment. Like they're living beings, and sometimes they even have characters. And sometimes when you look at elephants or dolphins or whatever animals it is, sometimes they're highly intelligent too. Um,
Right.
Part of it, I think, is survival. I think we'll see in the next 100, 200 years as humans get more comfortable with different types of food and when they can synthetically make something or even through like a Star Trek replicator or something like that, when survival becomes not so enmeshed with animals and consumption and all the things, I think we will be shocked. I think we'll be shocked one day when we actually give animals attention. Because I've seen it, man. Like people, there are like farms where people can go be with like comfort cows and they'll like lay down with cows and hug cows, and
This is real.
helps them with their anxiety.
My some people told me recently, I think it was a news, something on some news forum or something like that, that the raccoons in Toronto, the city nearest to us,
Yeah.
because we live in Canada, the raccoons are like domesticating, like
Yeah.
their features are changing, and they're getting so used to interacting with humans that they're like coming out. They're not like skeet. We live in the countryside. Raccoons are feral. You know what I mean? But who knows what would happen in a world where that element, at least between humans and them, was gone. Who knows? Who knows what's possible? I mean, but
It just opened the mind to looking at them. Again, I use the phrase as divine being. And you don't need a podcast for that. I mean, look at them, guys. Look how soothing they are. You can actually see their soul shining through. Look how they know when we don't feel good, when we stress. I used to be a chaplain in the hospital, and you know those comfort animals that go to rooms. They absolutely know if a person is dying and how close they are to death. So there's so much spiritual power that in them. Look, I cannot comprehend life without animals. And my job is to tell a person, even to tell you, James, is that give a cat a try and see the absolute
My daughter's gonna love you.
don't share the bit. I mean, I'm just saying to people that never had a pet, give them a try. Try out, get a pet, of course, if possible. I always like to say that. They're just unbelievable. They have a major purpose in our life. And people say, if you say, what is the main thing they teach us? Well, they teach us what we are unable to accomplish yet, which is unconditional love. I mean, we're so far for practice unconditional love. I mean, look at them. So to the viewers today, I would say give everything to your pets. Don't use the fact that we can, how you said, Annie, kill them? Euthanizing. Don't value your pet, give them a good life, look in between the lines, the many things they do for us. They're unbelievable, they're powerful, their soul is divine. I mentioned something earlier about cats. To channeling departed cats, use the phrase that they can often, like I said, detect pocket of negativity. They absorb it into their own system and kind of release it away from us. Of course, they're also able to look if you have company of friends, and some dogs bark because they get enough information about the people that they can sense. We can't do any of that thing, so how are they secondary to us?
I don't know. Sometimes I think animals take on the characteristics of their owner too. Like I've known some pretty like yappy ladies with like, of course they've got a little yappy dog with them.
But Justin, I would go, even they look like the dog.
But honestly, maybe there's a reason why the Egyptians revered cats so much. There's something like sometimes they will look at you as if they know something, maybe. But what was I gonna say? James has got dog. You've got dogs.
Oh yeah.
He's got plenty of opportunities to do that unconditional love thing. And I would say you're not the only one that I've heard this sort of thing from. Like I think there's another person I have in mind that's a spiritual teacher that said, observe your animal or observe your cat. Look at how graceful and elegant they are. Like there's something about that as distinct from our probably cartoonishly rigid and ridiculous behavior as humans.
I mean, even if you look at them when they do that, what do you think they look at it? Our lights? No, they look at other spirits. I mean, it's so obvious, and everyone experienced that, cats, dog, any pets, when they just do like that. I mean, we often see our cats when we all watch TV in the evening, and they kind of look like that, someone coming down the stairs. So it's very obvious. It's all open mindfulness. To be mindful, to be more open-minded, to be open-minded, that there's so much more to our pets, and therefore need honor, need respect, need love, need devotion. I don't see any difference between a human child and a pet.
My cats are way different during the day than they are at night. During the day, if I'm on the toilet, they'll come up and cutely rub against my leg so that I gotta like cuddle them and whatever. And they're very adorable. They'll come up to you and stand on you, and they will get treats. They'll win me over, and I'll give them treats. And then at nighttime, they hunt and terrorize me. They'll go behind the curtain, but they'll go wherever I'm sitting, go behind me and start messing around back there. You know what I mean? Like as if they're gonna get me. So I don't know if they have a sense of humor or what it is, but
It's personality in the same way our soul changes the personality each incarnation. They do theirs. They know to what form to incarnate. They know to what personality in relation to how it will mesh with us on planet Earth, the growth that we need to exchange. So yeah, it's the pets you have now, both of you are the pets that meant to share the life with. We didn't just happen to get them, it's magical how certain pets. That's why sometimes either kids or the adults, they said, I need to get a dog. So the divine timing enter for them to get a dog. So it's very much organized supposedly behind.
yeah. Oh yeah. Very good for the kids. Kids find a lot of comfort and joy in cuddling and petting the cats. And teaches them responsibility too.
Yeah. Well, Miki, I want to say thank you so much for joining us on the show today. This has been a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot here. One thing we like to do around here is kind of give our guests the last say. So if you have an overarching message, say from your podcast or anything that you're doing that you want to give to our audience, I'll give you the time here to do that now. And then maybe after, just let our audience know where they can find you, what you got going on, and all that good stuff.
Yeah. I would say what's important is to apply self-check to kind of for the viewer to be mindful of their weaknesses. And the end of the day, we know what our strengths and weaknesses are. And perhaps every day try to work on one weakness, whether it is desire or lashing out or anger or rage or racist, and work on it. Spirituality came a lot because I know that spirituality can change the life for the best, be more uplifting. If you have any bad habits, certainly work on themselves. So it requires self-awareness. If the mind don't take the time to be self-aware what we need to change, every day would be the same. And because things are energy, they don't stay the same. If you don't work on weaknesses, they will grow in power in the same way that if you work on weaknesses, they will grow in power. So that's really, of course, animals. For the viewers that are not maybe familiar with pet, give it a try. Look at them a different perspective when you go home to tell your delightful pets, but they're absolutely plain fantastic and crucial to our life, crucial. In regard to what to find, I have the website, which is MIKIJACOBS. Clayton always put new things, what coming up there. The books are there, this last book and the previous book. So the information best is to go to the website. And thank you guys. It was delightful being here. Beautiful topics came, topics that meant to come. You're great fun. What a great siblings you are. So I appreciate
Thank you for being a guest. I was worried there for a second. I was like, wait a sec, we just kind of joked around. But no, you made sure to add some actionable steps in there. And what you said at the end was very good about tackling things, invest some energy into correcting those things, because sometimes the way I say it is you can either snowball into the wrong direction or snowball into the right direction, Just start with the consciousness of it.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to take last words.
Great. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Miki. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much.